Hello students, let us enter into the next intestinal infection. So today we are going to study about acute diarrheal diseases. This is also one of the important intestinal infections which is most commonly seen. So it is a group of disease in which the predominant symptom is diarrhea is referred to acute diarrheal diseases. Since the main symptom is diarrhea, we used to tell this group of diseases acute diarrheal diseases. So the WHO, otherwise the UNICEF, it defines acute diarrhea as an attack of sudden onset which usually last for 3 to 7 days but may last up to 10 to 14 days. So when some children even if they go to toilet for one or two times, they used to tell that I am having diarrhea. So don't abuse that particular word. Acute diarrhea means it is an attack of sudden onset. Suddenly it starts and it lasts for minimum 3 to 7 days. If we are having loose stools for 3 to 7 days, then only we can tell it as acute diarrhea, and sometimes even it lasts for even 10 to 14 days. So it is this definition is given by World Health Organization and the UNICEF, United Nations International Child Emergency Fund. So that is the expansion of UNICEF. You will study much more about the WHO, UNICEF, all these international health agencies in your BSc 4th year. So I hope you have understood about what you mean by acute diarrhea. Acute diarrhea means the sudden onset, the sudden attack or the sudden onset of loose stools which lasts for 3 to 7 days or even up to 10 to 14 days. So when we look into the causative agent, we can see that either bacteria or virus and even the parasites can cause the diarrheal diseases. So it can be caused of bacteria, otherwise it can be due to virus, or it can be due to various parasites. So that's what we have told, it's a group of disease. That's why the name is acute diarrheal diseases. So in addition to above causes, parenteral infection plays a role essentially in young children. So these include the ENT, otherwise respiratory or urinary infections, even malaria and meningitis, even teeth eruption. So these all can even can be a cause of diarrhea also. So never think that only because of bacteria, viral and parasites, even because of any ENT problem, even because of any respiratory problems, because of any urinary infection or malaria, meningitis, or even sometimes when the tooth is erupting in the childhood period, even this all can lead to diarrhea also. So when we look into the various causative agents of diarrheal disease, we can classify it like this. So it will be better if you can remember at least one or two strains of each of this. Any two viruses you can remember, like rotavirus, astrovirus, adenovirus. So any coronavirus, any of this enterovirus, at least two or three you should remember. Then bacteria, when we look into especially E. coli, we can tell. Then Shigella, then Salmonella, then Vibrio cholerae. So these all things usually affect. These are some of the bacteria. That's why even the cholera is also having the same signs and symptoms. Even the cholera is also the same thing which comes under the acute diarrheal disease, because Vibrio cholerae is one of the bacterial infection which is caused due to that Vibrio cholerae. So cholera is also, we can tell, which is one of the infection which is coming under the acute diarrheal disease. And even other species are E. histolytica. So any of the one or two things you have to remember. Any two or three virus, bacteria and other organisms you can remember as the causative agents. So when we look into the host factors, we can see that diarrhea is most common in children under 5 years, especially those between 6 months and 2 years. Because see, even we can tell it as a disease part when it comes for a under 5 children. So especially it can even lead to death of a children because of dehydration if it is severely affected among the children those who are less than 5 years. So the children those who are below 5 years, especially between 6 months and and 2 years of age, we can tell they are having a more prone to get the various diarrheal infections. The people with low immunity are also prone for diarrheal infections. Diarrhea is more common in person with malnutrition. So we can see malnutrition, young children, that means under 5 children, and low immunity people, and poverty, prematurity, reduced gastric acidity, immunodeficiency, the lack of personal and domestic hygiene, and so these all things, and incorrect feeding practices, all this can contribute to diarrheal diseases. So these all are the host factors. So if any of these risk factors are present in a host, of course they can lead to various types of diarrheal diseases. So what are they? Again, remember, the some of the things of host factors are under 5 children, especially from 6 months to 2 years, then low immunity, and malnutrition, people with malnutrition, and poverty cases, prematurity, like preterm babies, those who are born prior to date, and reduced gastric acidity, those who are having immunodeficiency, and those who are having lack of personal hygiene, and incorrect feeding practices. That means especially not cleaning the vessels, otherwise not properly maintaining the food hygiene. That is meant by incorrect feeding practices. Even in case of feeding for young children, if we are not providing clean vessels for feeding, or if we are not maintaining the hygiene of our hands, or incorrect feeding practices also can lead to this type of diarrheal diseases. These all are the host factors. So when we look into the environmental factors, we can see that diarrhea occurrence shows seasonal patterns. Like bacterial diarrhea occurs most frequently in warm season, in temperate climate. That means when we are having warm season, good temperatures, we usually get the bacterial diarrhea. Whereas viral diarrhea is particularly that occur due to rotavirus, show peak incidence during the winter season. So when we tell about rotavirus, they provide this viral diarrhea. So this viral diarrhea especially we see during the winter season. So bacterial diarrhea during warm season, and viral diarrhea usually it occurs in the winter season. And poverty, lack of education, and person's wrong belief and practices play a vital role in predisposing the diarrheal diseases. So there are some wrong beliefs regarding the cleanliness, or regarding the personal hygiene maintenance, all these factors. So some of these wrong beliefs, or wrong practices, or the lack of education of the people, or the poverty aspect, these all can boost up the factors. So these all are some of the environmental factors that can boost diarrheal infections. So when we look into the mode of transmission, we can see that fecal oral route, this may be either waterborne, or it can be foodborne, or direct transmission through fingers, fomites, or dirt which may be ingested. So either it is especially feco-oral route. So it can be either be through a waterborne, so due to the contamination of water, due to the contamination of the food, or direct transmission through the fingers, or any of the fomites like flies, or any fomites which come in contact with the food, or due to even the dirt which is there in your fingers which you get ingested. So these all can be the mode of transmission. So it is feco-oral route. So when we tell about the prevention and control of acute diarrheal disease, the first one is diagnosis and treatment of diarrhea. When we have to early diagnose it, and we have to treat it as early as possible. So assessment is vital, considering the diagnosis of diarrhea. So normally if it comes and go, there is no need for a treatment for a mild diarrhea. But if it really goes to a severe form, it can really cause dehydration, and even it can cause the death of the child. So the assessment is one of the main part. So the diarrhea usually defines as the passage of stool, or the liquid or watery stool, more than three times a day. So more than 3 times, if it is happening for around 3 to 7 days, so we can tell it as there is a chance of diarrhea. However, the change in consistency and character of the stools are more important than the number of stool. So even though the number of stool, more than that, we have to look into the consistency consistency and the character of the stool. So how the stool look like, so what is the consistency of the stool. So these things we should give more importance. So in case of dehydration, so dehydration is assessed and graded as mild or severe basis on the following criteria. So let us see how we can assess the dehydration in the case of diarrhea. So when we look into this particular column, we can see that the parameters are given. We have to see the patient's appearance, we have to see the patient's blood pressure, then the skin elasticity, we have to check the person's tongue, then the anterior fontanelle, and we have to check the urine flow. So all these things we have to check. These are the parameters which we have to assess. So in the dehydration, it is given mild or severe. So when we look into the patient's appearance, if the person is thirsty and if the person is alert and conscious and little bit restlessness is there, then it is a mild form of dehydration. But if the person is very drowsy and if the person is having cold, sweats, and these all type of symptoms if the person shows, and if the person is having dry lips and very drowsy looking, and these type of symptoms the person is showing, then it is really a severe form of dehydration. Then even BP, when we look into blood pressure, in case of mild dehydration, there is normal BP, there is no much variation in blood pressure. But in case of severe dehydration, less than 80 mm of Hg may be the unrecordable. So sometimes even it is unrecordable, otherwise even less than 80 mm Hg also can be shown in the blood pressure. That means the dehydration is very severe. Then skin elasticity also we can see. So pinch retracts immediately. So when we pinch into the skin part, it suddenly it go backs അല്ലേ, നമ്മളിങ്ങനെ സ്കിന്നെ പിടിച്ച് പയ്യെ ഒന്ന് പിഞ്ച് ചെയ്ത് പൊക്കുക, എന്നിട്ട് നമ്മൾ റിലീസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ സഡൻലി ഇഫ് ഇറ്റ് റിട്രാക്ട് ആൻഡ് ഇഫ് ഇറ്റ് ഗോ ബാക്സ്, ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് മൈൽഡ് ഡീഹൈഡ്രേഷൻ. ബട്ട് ഇൻ കേസ് ഓഫ് സിവിയർ ഡീഹൈഡ്രേഷൻ, പിഞ്ച് റിട്രാക്ട്സ് ഈവൻ വെരി സ്ലോലി, മോർ ദാൻ 2 seconds it will take for the skin to go back. So the skin elasticity also can tell you whether it is mild or severe. And when we look into the tongue, so if it is moist one, it is mild, and if it is very dry, we can tell it is a severe form. Anterior fontanelle, so the anterior fontanelle of the children, so the children, we all know that നിങ്ങൾ തേർഡ് ഇയർ ചൈൽഡ് ഹെൽത്ത് ഒക്കെ പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ ആൻറ്റീരിയർ ഫൊണ്ടോണലെ പറ്റി കൂടുതൽ പഠിക്കും. ഞാൻ ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് പറയാം. ആൻറ്റീരിയർ ഫൊണ്ടോണലെ മീൻസ് ലൈക്ക് വെയർ 2-3 ബോൺസ് ജോയിൻ ടുഗദർ. നമുക്കെല്ലാം അറിയാം അല്ലേ, നെറുക അല്ലേ, കുട്ടികളുടെ നെറുക, അവരുടെ തലയോട്ടികളൊന്നും ഉറച്ചിട്ടില്ല കൊച്ചുകുട്ടികളിൽ. സോ ഡ്യൂറിങ് ദാറ്റ് ടൈം ഇഫ് വി ഹാവ് എ നോർമൽ ഫൊണ്ടോണലെ, ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് മൈൽഡ് ഡീഹൈഡ്രേഷൻ. വെരി സങ്കൺ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ ഒരു പാർട്ട് നമ്മുടെ നെറുക അല്പം താഴ്ന്നാണ് ഇരിക്കുന്നത്. നമ്മൾ കുട്ടിയുടെ നെറുകയിൽ തലോടി നോക്കുമ്പോൾ നെറുക അല്പം താഴ്ന്നാണ് ഇരിക്കുന്നതെങ്കിൽ ആ കുട്ടി ഡീഹൈഡ്രേറ്റഡ് ആണ്. ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് ഇറ്റ് ഇൻഡിക്കേറ്റ്സ് എ sunken or a shallow anterior fontanelle. It tells that the child is going to severe dehydration. Then urine flow. So if the person has a normal, if the child has a normal flow, then we can tell it's a mild type of dehydration. And but if the urine is very little, then we have to see, we have to be very conscious, maybe the child is going to severe dehydration. And the percentage of body weight loss, so if there is a 4.5 percentage of body weight is lost, then it is mild. But if the person is losing around 10% of the weight, there is a sudden reduction in the weight, then we have to check for a severe dehydration. So these are some of the things. And estimated fluid deficit, so even the fluid deficit also we can see a remarkable change. So if it is more than 10 to 100 to 110 ml per kg fluid deficit if we see, then really we can really it shows that the child is going towards the severe dehydration. So you have to assess all these things during the dehydration. So what are the things? We have to check the patient appearance and alertness, how the patient is, whether the patient is alert. Then blood pressure, skin elasticity, tongue, anterior fontanelle of the child, then the urine flow, body weight, then the fluid deficit. All these things will tell you how the person is dehydrated, whether the person is mild or severely affected with dehydration. If the person is having mild dehydration, It may be treated at home or in the nearest treatment centers. There is no need for to be much worried and get admitted. The person can drink the water and they can be treated at home only. Severely dehydrated cases, they really need to be referred for further management in the hospital, since they need IV fluid therapy to replace the fluid loss, because in such cases even the patient will not be able to take up the water. ആ കുട്ടിക്ക് വെള്ളം പോലും കുടിക്കാൻ പറ്റാത്ത അവസ്ഥ, വെള്ളം പോലും കുടിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല ആ കുട്ടിക്ക്. അങ്ങനെയുള്ളൊരു അവസ്ഥയിൽ, അത്രയും ഡീഹൈഡ്രേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു സിവിയർ ഡീഹൈഡ്രേഷനിൽ അവർക്ക് IV ഫ്ലൂയിഡ് അല്ലേ, വി ഹാവ് ടു ഗിവ് IV ഫ്ലൂയിഡ്സ്. സോ ദേ ഷുഡ് ഗെറ്റ് അഡ്മിറ്റഡ് ഇൻ ദ ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ. So regarding the chemotherapy, so the antibiotic should be considered whether the case of where the cause of diarrhea has been clearly identified as Shigella, typhoid or cholera. So always remember, if the organisms are Shigella, typhoid or cholera. So in case of cholera, in case of typhoid and in case of Shigella, the person really needs antibiotics. In the other forms, just taking rest and having a light diet and having plenty of fluids can really bring them back from the diarrheal stages. So in case of Shigella, in the case of Shigella, in the case of typhoid and in the case of cholera, they should take antibiotics. Then zinc supplementation. Zinc supplementation during acute diarrhea reduces the duration and severity. So during the acute diarrheal cases, they really give zinc supplementation. So even the WHO and the UNICEF, they recommend 10 milligram of zinc for infants under 6 months of age, and even 20 milligram 20 mg for children older than 6 months for 10 to 14 days. For 10 to 14 days we have to provide zinc supplementation, so that the duration and the severity of the diarrhea can be reduced. So zinc supplementation and providing antibiotics in the case of Shigella, typhoid and cholera. This is about the treatment options. Then better MCH care practices can really bring down the various diarrheal diseases. So what do you mean by MCH care? That is maternal and child health care. So if we provide good care towards the mother and the child, then really we can bring down the cases of diarrhea. A good attention to prenatal nutrition will reduce the low birth weight babies. So if we provide very good nutrition towards the mother when they are pregnant, then there will not be a child with low birth weight. The child will be, so in India we can tell the minimum birth weight of a child in India is 2.5 kg. So if it is less than that, we used to call it as low birth weight babies. So if we provide good nutrition to the mothers when they are pregnant, then of course there will not be any babies those who are having low birth weight. Then education to mother on importance of breastfeeding during the antenatal period will help to prepare the mother physically and mentally. The breastfeed baby is at low risk of developing severe diarrhea and death comparing to the bottle fed child. So it is very clear, നമുക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും അറിയാം അല്ലേ, നന്നായിട്ട് ബ്രസ്റ്റ് ഫീഡിങ് കിട്ടിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കുട്ടിക്ക് എപ്പോഴും നല്ല ഇമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ഉണ്ടാവും. അവർക്ക് ഈ ഡയറിയ പോലെയുള്ള ചെറിയ അസുഖങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നും അവർക്ക് വളരെ വേഗം പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റഡ് ആവാൻ പറ്റും. സോ breastfeeding we should encourage. So we should educate the mother when they are pregnant itself. We should educate the mother that you should give exclusive breastfeeding to your baby minimum for 6 months. That is exclusive breastfeeding. After 6 months they can start weaning along with breastfeeding. So this is very very important, because usually bottle fed children usually they get more prone to have this type of diarrheal, because they have to take care of the bottle. They never sometimes the cleanliness of the bottle, it matters, and even the immunity factors, because breast milk is the main thing what gives immunity to a child. So instead of bottle fed baby, we have to encourage the mother to feed the child and wean the infant at appropriate age only. Poor weaning practices are a major risk for diarrhea. Exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months of life is recommended. So what do you mean by exclusive breastfeeding? Exclusive breastfeeding എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ജനനം മുതൽ ആദ്യത്തെ 6 മാസം വരെ only giving breast milk. That means mostly every 2 hourly, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കുട്ടി കരയുന്നത് എപ്പോഴും അപ്പോഴും നമ്മൾ പാല് കൊടുക്കുന്നു. Only breast milk is given till 6 months. That is known as exclusive breastfeeding. Then after 6 months we start the weaning process. What do you mean by weaning? Weaning means നമ്മൾ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് ബ്രസ്റ്റ് മിൽക്കിന് ശേഷം നമ്മൾ കുട്ടിക്ക് കൊടുത്തു തുടങ്ങുന്ന സാധനങ്ങൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കൊടുത്തു തുടങ്ങുന്ന സപ്ലിമെൻ്ററി ഫുഡിനെയാണ് വീനിങ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. നമ്മൾ കുറുക്കുണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുക്കും, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഉരുളക്കിഴക്ക്, ചോറ് അതൊക്കെ ശരിക്കും അരച്ച് സ്മാഷ് ചെയ്ത് കൊടുക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങും അല്ലേ. സോ ദിസ് ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് വീനിങ് ഷുഡ് ബി സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ഇൻ ദ അപ്രോപ്രിയേറ്റ് ഏജ്. ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് 6 months they should start weaning. Otherwise what will happen if we again continue the breastfeeding and if we are not starting the weaning, later when the baby take up this type of food, it will cause diarrhea to the child. So we should start weaning at the right time. That means after 6 months of age, the baby should start with weaning diet along with breastfeeding. The weaning food should be prepared hygienically using nutritious and locally available food. So we should not give any artificial form of food to the child. So during the weaning time we should provide very hygienic food, very nutritious food, and we have to provide locally available food. That means നമ്മുടെ വീട്ടിലോ വീട്ടുവളപ്പിലൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന സാധനങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് ഫ്രഷ് ആണ് എന്ന് നല്ല ബോധ്യമുള്ള ലോക്കലി അവൈലബിൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഫുഡ്സ് വെച്ചായിരിക്കണം നമ്മളെപ്പോഴും വീനിങ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. സോ ദീസ് ആർ സം ഓഫ് ദ ടിപ്സ് given for better MCH care. That means better maternal and child health practice, so that we can bring down or reduce the diarrheal incidences. Then regarding sanitation, so we have to provide safe water supply, safe disposal of excreta, food hygiene we have to maintain, then domestic food should be provided, and proper hand washing technique, provision for sanitary latrines at homes. We all should have latrines at home. We have to avoid open air defecation. What do you mean by open air defecation? പണ്ടൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ പണ്ട് കാലത്തൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു അല്ലേ, ടോയ്ലറ്റുകൾ ഇല്ലാത്ത അവസ്ഥ, പുറത്ത് പോയിട്ട് പറമ്പിലൊക്കെ പോയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ വെളിക്കിരിക്കുന്ന അവസ്ഥ. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് മീൻ ബൈ ഓപ്പൺ എയർ ഡെഫിക്കേഷൻ. സോ ദ ഓപ്പൺ എയർ ഡെഫിക്കേഷൻ ഷുഡ് ബി സ്ട്രിക്ട്ലി പ്രൊഹിബിറ്റഡ്, ആൻഡ് വി ഷുഡ് all have sanitary latrines at homes and avoid all sort of contaminated food items. So these are some of the sanitary precautions we should take against this type of diarrheal incidences. Then health education. So community to be health educated on environmental sanitation. Engage the community in all activities related to environmental hygiene. Because see, diarrheal disorders or diarrheal infection, it can be because of either virus or it can be because of bacteria or any type of parasite. So really what we have to more focus is hygiene. So not only personal hygiene, we have to make the community aware about the environmental hygiene also, regarding the environmental sanitation, the waste disposal, avoiding open air defecation. So these type of things should be given more emphasized. Then when we tell about the immunization, we can tell that immunization against measles is a useful intervention for control diarrhea. The measles vaccine can prevent 25% of diarrheal death in children under the 5 years of age. Particular ആയിട്ട് ഡയറിയയ്ക്ക് വേറെ പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് വാക്സിനേഷനുകൾ ഒന്നുമില്ല. ബട്ട് ദ ഇമ്മ്യൂണൈസേഷൻ പാർട്ട് വെൻ വി ടെൽ ദ മീസിൽസ് immunization, it really protect a child from having this type of diarrhea. So especially we can tell around 25% of diarrheal death can be avoided because of measles vaccination. Other than that, there is no particular proper vaccinations for diarrheal disorders. Measles vaccination can really protect a under 5 child from this type of diarrheal diseases. And fly control is more important. Adequate measures should be applied to control the flies breeding. അല്ലേ, ഈച്ചകളൊക്കെ പോയിരുന്ന് മുട്ടയിടുക, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇതുപോലെയുള്ള ഫേസസിൻ്റെ മുകളിൽ ഈച്ച പോയിരിക്കുക, അതിനുശേഷം അത് വന്ന് ഫുഡിൽ വന്നിരിക്കുക. സോ ദിസ് ഫ്ലൈ കൺട്രോൾ ഈസ് വൺ ഓഫ് ദ മെയിൻ ആസ്പെക്ട് ഹൗ വി ക്യാൻ really control this type of diarrheal disorders. So the diarrheal control program in India, so it was started in 1978 to reduce the mortality and morbidity due to diarrheal diseases. From 1992 to 93, the program has become a part of the CSSM. What is CSSM? Child Survival and Safe Motherhood Program, and all the activities are now integrated with CSSM program. So you have to remember this word, CSSM program. So under the CSSM program, they have started so many diarrheal control measures, as we have told, the campaign health education, the immunization of measles should be encouraged, the fly control, the sanitation aspect, these all are taken care, all these activities are taken care by CSSM program. What is CSSM? Child Survival and Safe Motherhood Program. So it has been started in 1978 in order to reduce the mortality and morbidity due to various diarrheal diseases. So you will be studying in depth regarding the CSSM program in your final year. That means in your community second part in your BSc fourth year. So I hope you all have got a basic idea about various diarrheal diseases and how it is caused. So you all have to read this. Even you can read the KPARC also. So here I have added all the necessary things whatever you have to study. So always try to concentrate on the causative agents. At least you should remember 2 to 3 organisms: viral, bacterial, and other parasites. And you have to study about the assessment part of dehydration, how to do the dehydration assessment. So you have to by heart the parameters. What are the parameters? The appearance of the person, blood pressure, skin elasticity, tongue, anterior frontonale, whether it is sunken or not, and the urine, body weight, and even the fluid deficit. These all things are the parameters which you have to assess during the dehydration. Then there is no particular vaccination for this. Only thing is, if the person is affected with Shigella, typhoid, or cholera, then the person has to start with antibiotics. Otherwise, along with that, we have to provide zinc supplementation. Usually zinc supplementation is given in case of diarrhea, and we have to provide better MCH care, sanitation aspects, health education, and the immunization against measles should be encouraged. And fly control is very, very important, so that the fly breeding can be reduced. So this is all about various diarrheal diseases. You all have to read the KPAR textbook also along with this. Thank you, students.